All right, so we're getting ready for a digester operator interview. Talking about a really important role in the paper-making world. It all begins with that huge vat, the digester. We've got all your RoleCatcher info right here, career guides. We have sample interview questions. We even have some AI tricks that we're going to share. Today's deep dive is all about prepping you to not just answer those questions, but really impress them with what you know.
Yeah, it's not just about knowing how to run a digester. It's about showing them you're the absolute best person for the job. We're
Hmm.
going to walk you through the most common interview questions. We'll give you strategies for how to answer them. And we're even going to explore some potential follow-up questions you might get.
Exactly. And we'll be sprinkling in career insights from the RoleCatcher guides, so you get a clear picture of what this career path actually looks like. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
First question off the bat is usually going to be about your motivation. Something like, what inspired you to pursue a career as a digester operator? Sounds pretty basic. But how do you answer this in a way that doesn't sound generic?
So think about what really drew you to this job. Maybe you're fascinated by the chemical processes, or you love the hands-on work. Did maybe someone in your family work at a paper mill? And you were always intrigued by how big the whole operation is. You want to connect your own personal interests and values to the role.
So instead of just saying something like, it seemed like a stable job, you could say, I've always been really interested in industrial processes. And the idea of transforming raw materials into something we use every day really appeals to me.
Exactly. Show them you've thought about why this specific role excites you. Here's a little tip. Go do a little research on the company's website. Are they known for their sustainability? Do they use really advanced technology? Mentioning something specific about their company shows them you've done your homework and that you're actually interested in them.
That's such a good point. Really tailoring your answers is so important. Now let's talk about skills. They'll probably ask you something like, what specific skills do you have that would make you a successful digester operator?
Hmm.
This is where all those RoleCatcher career guys really come in handy.
Absolutely. They highlight key skills like operations monitoring, production and processing, and mechanical knowledge. You can use those as a framework to answer that question.
So for example, you could talk about your experience monitoring gauges and dials
Yeah.
and making sure the digester is running smoothly.
Right. Or talk about your knowledge of all the different types of digesters, like batch versus continuous digesters. Maybe you've worked with a specific type of pulping process, like craft pulping. The more specific you can be, the better.
And don't forget to mention those soft skills, like problem solving and teamwork. They're looking for someone who can work well under pressure and also who works well with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. A potential follow-up question could be, tell me about a time you had to work as part of a team to solve a problem. So have a specific example ready, where you can highlight your communication and collaboration skills.
Yeah, preparation is really key. Okay, so let's move on to a question about multitasking. They might ask, how do you prioritize tasks when you have a lot of different responsibilities? It's a fast-paced environment, so they want to know that you can handle it.
Yeah, this is a great chance to show off your organizational skills and also your ability to stay calm under pressure. Don't just give some vague answer like, I'm good at multitasking. Be very specific.
So you could say something like, I prioritize tasks based on how urgent they are and the impact they have on production. So for example, if there's some kind of safety issue, that's always my top priority. But I also make sure to keep track of the routine maintenance schedules. And I make sure that all those tasks get done on time so that it prevents bigger problems down the line.
Perfect. That shows them that you understand the big picture and that you can balance all those competing demands. Now they might follow up with, can you give me an example of a time you successfully juggled multiple priorities? So have a real-life example ready to illustrate your point.
And don't forget to quantify your results if possible. Did you create a new system that decreased downtime by 15%? Those kinds of numbers make your accomplishments stand out.
Great point. Speaking of efficiency, they'll probably ask you about how to make sure that the digester is running at peak performance. This one's all about your technical knowledge and taking a proactive approach.
Yeah, so it's not just about keeping things running.
Yeah.
It's about optimizing the temperature, the pressure, the chemical levels for maximum output with the least waste possible.
Exactly. They want to know you're not just going through the motions. They'll probably ask something like, what steps do you take to identify and address potential inefficiencies? So have an example ready. Maybe you noticed a pattern in the data that suggested a little tweak to the chemical ratios. Could improve the pulp yield.
That really shows you're paying attention and that you're thinking critically about the entire process. And it ties into some of those career advancement tips for the RoleCatcher Guide. They talk about how important it is to take initiative and to look for ways to improve processes
Absolutely. Those are the things that really make a good digester operator into a great one. And the more you can show those qualities in an interview, the better your chances of getting the job.
Okay, so safety is really important in any industrial setting, and they will absolutely ask you about safety protocols. What's the best way to approach this question?
This one's pretty straightforward. Emphasize that you're committed to following all the safety procedures, no exceptions. Talk about how you always inspect the safety equipment, that you conduct safety audits, and that you try to be proactive in addressing any potential hazards.
And maybe you could even mention encouraging your colleagues to do the same thing. That shows leadership even if you're not a supervisor.
Exactly. They might ask, have you ever had to correct a coworker who wasn't following safety procedures? So be ready to describe how you handled that professionally and how you made sure everyone stayed safe.
Okay, now for a classic behavioral question, can you describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a problem with the digester?
Oh, everyone's got a story like that. The key is to tell a really good story that highlights your problem-solving skills. Walk them through what you did to identify the problem, analyze what was going on, and come up with a solution.
And focus on the skills you used, like critical thinking, mechanical aptitude, maybe even some creative thinking if it was a really tricky problem.
Exactly. Don't just tell them what happened. Show them how you tackled it. What were you thinking? What tools did you use? And what was the result?
Okay, I'm starting to feel like I could answer these questions.
Yeah.
What about maintenance? They'll probably want to know that you understand how important it is to keep the digester in top shape.
Yeah, of course. When they ask about how to make sure the digester is properly maintained and cleaned, you can show off your understanding of preventative maintenance, talk about how you come up with and follow a maintenance plan, and make sure all the tasks are done on time and that they're documented really well.
And you could also mention your knowledge of cleaning procedures and how you make sure those are followed to keep the equipment running for a long time and prevent any contamination.
Exactly. They might ask you about a specific maintenance challenge you had, something like, tell me about a time you had to find and fix a leak in the digester system.
Okay, so we're starting to see a pattern here. Be ready to back up your answers with really concrete examples from your experience.
You got it. The more specific and detailed your answers, the more confident and capable you'll seem.
This has been great. We've covered a lot of information, but we're just getting started. Let's take a quick pause and come back to tackle even more of those interview questions.
Sounds good to me. We'll pick up right where we left off. Okay, so let's get back to those interview questions. Teamwork is really crucial in a pulp and paper mill. They might ask you something like, can you describe a challenging situation where you had to lead a team?
I bet you've got tons of great stories from your time out on the floor.
Oh, definitely. But you got to remember, leadership doesn't always mean you have an official title. It could be a time when you took charge, or you motivated your colleagues, or maybe helped resolve a conflict.
Maybe like a time when the digester suddenly went down and you had to work with maintenance, production, and quality control to get things back up and running.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Walk them through how you thought about it. Like, how did you figure out what was happening? How did you decide who should do what? And how did you communicate effectively so that there was as little downtime as possible?
And the RoleCatcher Career Guide talks about leadership skills a lot
Yeah.
and how those are really important for moving up. They list the typical career stages, starting with entry-level digester operator.
Exactly. At that level, you're learning all the basics, like how to run the digester, how to keep track of all the important numbers, and following those safety rules perfectly. You're building a really strong base.
So if you're at the entry level, you could answer that teamwork question by talking about a time when you helped a senior operator during some kind of complex procedure to show that you're willing to learn and work hard.
Right. And then as you become a junior digester operator, you start doing more and more. You'll troubleshoot small problems. You'll work with the senior operators to make the process even better. You become more independent and a more valuable part of the team.
So the next time you get that challenging situation question, that junior operator might have a story about leading a training session for new people. That shows they can teach others and be a good mentor.
Exactly. And once you get to senior digester operator, you're the go-to expert. You're in charge of the whole digester operation. You're making sure it's running as efficiently as possible. And you're also mentoring those junior operators. That's where those leadership skills are really important.
So you've got all that experience to talk about. Now let's think about a question about keeping up with what's new in the field. Something like, how do you stay up to date with the latest technologies and advancements in the industry? They want to know you're not just going to be okay doing things the same way forever.
Yeah, for sure. The pulp and paper industry is changing all the time. New technologies, new ways to be more sustainable, it's all happening so fast.
So you have to show them that you're excited to learn
Hmm.
and that you can adapt to those changes. What
Yep.
are some good ways to show them that?
Well, you could talk about some industry publications that you read, like Tape PI Journal or Paper 360 Degrees. Are you part of any online forums or groups where people in the industry talk about the new trends and technologies?
And what about professional development? Like, do you go to any conferences or workshops to learn new skills?
Of course. Mention any courses or certifications you've done, especially if they're related to technologies that the company you're interviewing with uses. For example, if they're starting to use a new digester control system and you've taken a training course on that system, that's perfect.
So make your answer fit what they need. This is where those career insights from RoleCatcher are so helpful. They talk about how important it is to keep learning if you want to move up in your career. And they even suggest specific areas to focus on.
Right. They mention things like optimizing processes, quality control, and new sustainable technologies. These are all areas where you can stand out and show them that you're dedicated to growing as a professional.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of those typical interview questions, but I feel like we're missing something. How does RoleCatcher's AI help you actually get the job?
Oh, right. Let's not forget about that. It's one thing to know what you're going to say in an interview, but RoleCatcher's AI can really help you improve your answers and make them fit specific job roles.
Okay, I'm listening.
So think about this. You found a job posting for a digester operator, and it looks perfect. You upload that job description to RoleCatcher, and their AI looks at it. It figures out what skills and qualifications they're looking for.
So it's like having your own personal recruiter going through that job description for you.
Exactly. But here's the cool part. You can use RoleCatcher's CV resume builder to make a resume that highlights the skills the employer wants. It's like a secret weapon for your job application.
Yeah, no more generic resumes that nobody even looks at. Okay, so that's for the application. But what about the interview itself?
Well, RoleCatcher's AI can also help you prepare for your interview. They have a feature called AI-powered interview practice, where you can record yourself answering common interview questions, and then it gives you personalized feedback.
Wait, so the AI actually watches your video and tells you what it thinks?
Yep, it looks at your tone of voice, your body language, even what you're saying. It can tell you if you're using too much technical language, if you're talking too much, or if you're not talking about the right skills.
That's so cool. It's like having a practice interview, but with super specific advice.
Exactly. And the feedback is really helpful, so you can work on the things you need to improve right away.
Okay, that's amazing. But we were talking about different career stages before. Does RoleCatcher's AI work for different levels of experience?
It does. It can adjust the feedback it gives you
Mhm.
based on where you are in your career. So if you're just starting out, it might focus more on you showing how enthusiastic you are and how much you want to learn. But if you're a senior operator, it might tell you to talk more about your leadership and problem-solving skills.
So it's not just personalized to the job. It's personalized to your own career path.
Exactly. And all of this is available on RoleCatcher. You can try out their free features, or you can upgrade to their Copilot AI subscription to get all the AI-powered tools.
This is all so helpful. But let's go back to those interview questions. We've got one more to go over, and it's a big one. Why should we hire you for this digester operator position?
The classic closing question. This is where you get to sum up everything and really make them remember you. But before we get into that, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about how to nail that final answer.
Sounds good to me. Let's pause here, and then get ready to close the deal. All right, so we're back and ready to take on that last interview question. Why should we hire you for this digester operator position? It's the big one. It's your chance to sum up all the great skills and experience that you've talked about.
It's like your final pitch, no? You want to make them think, wow, we need this person on our team.
Okay, so how do you make that perfect answer? What should you really focus on?
Well, you should start by going over your main qualifications, the things that really match what they're looking for. Did they mention they need someone who's super careful about safety? Remind them that you always follow safety protocols. Are they looking for someone with experience in a specific type of pulping? Make sure you mention your expertise in that area.
So you're basically tailoring your answer to exactly what they need, to show them you were paying attention the whole time.
Exactly. But don't just list off your qualifications. Make them come alive with real examples. Like if you talked about your problem-solving skills earlier, you could quickly remind them about that time you fixed a problem with the digester and what the good outcome was.
So it's kind of like a highlight reel of all the best parts of the interview.
Yeah, you could say that. And don't forget to tell them you're really excited about the job and the company. Mention something specific that you like maybe they're really focused on sustainability, or they have really cool new technology, or maybe they're known for being a great place to work.
That shows that you really did your research and that you're not just applying to every job out there.
Right. And then to finish it off, say something confident. That shows them you believe you're the best person for the job. Something like, I'm sure that with my skills and experience and my love for this industry, I would be a great addition to your team.
That's a really good way to leave them with a strong positive impression. But let's be real, interviews can be scary. Any tips on how to stay calm when you're feeling the pressure?
Practice, practice, practice. The more you go over your answers, the more confident you'll feel. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI-powered interview practice can really help. It's like having a coach help you sound polished and professional.
Like having a secret advantage. And while we're talking about RoleCatcher, they also have those career guides that are full of great insights. They talk about how you can specialize in certain areas as you get more experience.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe you're really interested in how to make things run better, or in quality control. There are definitely opportunities to learn more about these areas and maybe even move into a supervisory or management role later on.
So it's not like you're just going to be running the digester forever. There's room to grow and focus on what you're interested in.
Exactly. And with the pulp and paper industry always changing, there are always new things to learn and try out.
So whether you're just starting out or you've been doing this for years, the important thing is to stay curious, try new technologies, and never stop learning.
And don't forget about networking. Talking to other people in the industry can help you find new opportunities and learn valuable things.
Well, we've talked about a lot in this deep dive. From interview questions to career tips to all the ways RoleCatcher's AI can help you find your dream job.
Yeah, I think we've given you everything you need to ace that digester operator interview.
Remember, you got this. Go in there prepared, confident, and ready to show them your passion for this awesome industry.
And make sure you check out RoleCatcher's resources. They can really make a big difference in your job search.
Until next time, keep on learning, and good luck reaching those career goals.